Okay, I'd like to call this public hearing to order. Please rise and we'll pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. The secretary will read, the town clerk rather, will read the public notice.
Please take notice that the Town of Clinton will hold a continued public hearing on Tuesday, November 12th, 2019, at the Town of Clinton Town Hall, 1215 Center Road, Rhinebeck, in the Town of Clinton, New York, at 6:15 p.m. prevailing time, or as soon thereafter as the matter is reached on the agenda concerning proposed local law of 2019 entitled Events Law, pursuant to Article 16 of the New York Town Law. The local law will take effect immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. Complete copies of the proposed local law are available at the town clerk's office for inspection during regular business hours. All interested persons and citizens shall have an opportunity to be heard on said proposal at the date, time, and place aforesaid.
Okay, thank you. I will shortly open up the meeting to public hearing. Most of you all know the rules. You come on up, you stand in front of the microphone, you're talking to the board, not to the audience. Give your name and your street address, just so we generally know where you're from. We're not going to send you anything or anything for that. So raise your hand when you're ready, so I open up the public hearing and you're on.
Carol Hughes, 220 Schultz Hill Road. Regarding the events, this has been going on since early spring. Going to planning board meetings. We put it off and we say, okay, we got to get the wordage right. Come September, we say again, okay, we got to hold up because we've got to look at the ag laws to make sure that we're fitting in with the ag laws. Lo and behold, after that meeting, okay, the following Saturday, we have a party venue, a wedding. Wonderful. The following month, we put it off and we say, oh, now the county has to look at it because they're not happy. We're thinking we're a little too strong with the venue laws. I'd like to know who in the county that we're dealing with. Is it the legislature? Is it Molinaro? Or is it a specific person? We're dealing with the county covers a large thing. And lo and behold, after that meeting, we have a Halloween party. The only thing that got washed out because of all the rain. So we keep putting this stuff off. In the September one, Hart, who has the party venue in our neighborhood, stayed long enough to hear that, oh, we're going to put this off again. Happy camper, he leaves the meeting, okay? My mother would say there's something hidden in the woodpile somewhere to have to take this long to come up with an answer with the party venue. I'm an unhappy camper. Too many excuses. Too many excuses.
To answer your question on who on the county, it's the county Department of Development and Planning, and then they are required by state law to review all these type of documents and give their opinion of either they accept them or they reject them. If they reject it and we want to pass it, we have to pass it with majority plus one vote, which would mean 4 people on the board would have to say yes to make it pass over their objections. I'm just telling you what the process is, that's all.
But if they are so important to this, why weren't they at any of the planning board meetings or the 6 months that we've been dealing with this with the town board meetings? You know.
That I can't answer.
Yeah, I know. Nobody can answer it.
They don't come to our meetings. What it is by, the process is that we develop whatever we develop, then we have to send it to them once the town board's agreed that this is the document, and then they have 30 days to review it. That's what happened. So they took 30 days, and because we weren't within 30 days of when we approved it in September till, or August till September, we had to extend it to October, because
Yeah.
you need 30 full days.
Yeah.
So we didn't have 30
All right,
full
we've
days
had
between.
30 we've
so
had
that
30
cr-
days now,
That
haven't we?
created the extra month. In the process, they have now responded, and they don't like our document saying it's over restrictive.
May I understand where it's over-restricted?
Well, I could read you 3 pages, but they've given us 3 pages worth of over restrictions.
I think that should be sent out some way or other to the
Well, I'm sure we can
constituents here
certainly
so that
put
we
it
know
on the
what
county
this is
website
about.
to have it, readable, sure.
We just got it.
I'd like a copy of that.
What would you like a copy of?
Yes.
Of the county,
Would you call me in the office tomorrow? I'll get it to you.
I certainly will. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Next person, right up front here.
Good evening, members of the Town Board. My name is Rebecca Volk. I'm a lawyer with the law firm of Cuddy and Fader. We have been asked to take a look at your proposed events law, and I did make a written submission today. It was this afternoon. I did bring copies here for the board members. First, as indicated in my letter, I thank the board for the time in working on this law. Drafting local laws of such a nature are difficult and time-consuming, and we appreciate your time. We also appreciate your efforts to promote agriculture in the town. But we are commenting on the local laws regulations to the extent that venues on proposed farm operations that qualify for protection under New York State Ag and Markets Section 305A. We believe the provisions that treat agritourism and marketing of products made or grown on the farm as discrete one-time activities and not as a component of the primary use of the property as a farm is inconsistent with the protections afforded under Ag and Markets Law Section 305A. The state's definition for a farm operation includes, in part, practices that contribute to the production, preparation, and marketing of crops, livestock, and livestock products as a commercial operation. The Department of Agriculture and Markets recognizes that direct marketing activities are a component of the use of land as a farm operation, not a series of separate accessory activities which can be separately controlled and limited. Direct marketing events are protected by Section 305A, which provides that local government shall not unreasonably restrict or regulate farm operations within approved agricultural districts. When a municipality seeks to enforce a local law or regulation in a manner that is in conflict with these policy objectives, the local law or regulation is subject to nullification on the principle that it is superseded by the state policy. By regulating events for, quote, promoting agritourism or marketing products made or grown predominantly on the farm as an accessory use, the proposed local law comes into direct conflict with Section 305A, which protects such direct marketing as a component of the primary use of the property as a farm operation. Numerous regulations in the proposed local law may be deemed by the department as unreasonable on farm operations seeking to hold direct marketing events. We've cited a few examples in our letter. The first is that there is no acreage minimum to qualify as a farm operation under New York state law. Therefore, the minimum acreage requirements in the proposed local law restricting farms under 75 acres from hosting events would likely be considered an unreasonable restriction on agriculture if the farm is located within an agricultural district and qualifies for protection under Section 305A. The department's position is that any special use permit and site plan review for direct marketing activities as part of a farm operation should be a streamlined review. The proposed local law appears to incorporate the town's standard special use permit and site plan requirements for these agricultural uses, which are generally viewed by the department as unreasonable as applied to farm operations within agricultural districts. You will notice in the footnotes to my letter I've cited to numerous guidance documents issued by the Department of Ag and Markets. I have attached those to my letter for your convenience and also provided the website to which those documents can be found on the New York State Department's website. I note that the blanket restriction on the number of events the farm may host per year and the number of attendees without providing consideration of the particular circumstances of each farm may be an unreasonable restriction on agriculture. I also note that the definition of agricultural events venue includes the phrase "for hire." There appears to be uncertainty as to whether the town intends to regulate events hosted by the farm itself or only events when the farm is rented. Notwithstanding the ambiguity, rental events on farm operations may still receive the protection of Section 305A if rental fees received are incidental to the sale of farm crops, livestock, or livestock products at the event. The department has opined that wedding receptions and parties may help market the product of certain farm operations, and those events may be protected as a component of a farm operation. I also note that the local law provides that a special use permit will be renewed annually. This is very burdensome and potentially exceeds the limit on municipal exercise of the zoning power under applicable case law. The renewal procedure subjects the permit holder to constant threat of loss of an important use in which substantial investment has been made by requiring annual public hearings on the use and unlimited amendments to the special use permit at the planning board's discretion. We would ask the board to seriously consider eliminating the periodic review. If it is not eliminated, please consider extending the interim between reviews to a more reasonable level, eliminate the possibility of revocation of the permit, and limit the review topics to reasonable specified performance problems, such as noise or traffic. We also note that the limitations on the number of events per year also appear overly restrictive, as does the provision that any food service, lodging, recreational, or other facilities would be limited to only serving event attendees and staff. It would be cost prohibitive to provide lodging and construct food service facilities that could not be used for 2/3 of the year. I come to that number of 2/3 in that you allow 30 events per year under the proposed local law with a limit of up to 4 days each. That's 120 days maximum. The town should consider regulations to allow reasonable use of these facilities for other uses, not simply attached to discrete one-time events. Both the department and the landowner possess legal remedies to enforce Section 305A. We would ask the town to consult with the Department of Agriculture and Markets before adopting this local law. Again, thank you for your time, and thank you for the opportunity to comment this evening.
Thank you. Next person? Anybody else? Scott?
Scott Hughes, 160 Schultz Hill Road. And the same note with Carol. It was 4 days after the last meeting. This man had a full blowout wedding. Police were called. Music turned down for a little bit, went back up, continued through the night. And this is just ridiculous. We don't need this Mickey Mouse stuff in our town. I've lived here. I like to live in peace, and it's disrupting my way of living. It's not disrupting everybody else around, so it don't seem to bother them, but it's disrupting mine. It's lowering my property value and everything else. So expect something to be done about it.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I'm going to make this brief. I was at Scott's house. and I-
Tip the microphone towards you.
Sorry, Denise Truz Deerage. I was at Scott's house last week, and I can tell you, this is hell. And I don't care whether people say, I was at his house, and let me tell you, there's buses everywhere. I mean, his property is going to hell in a handbasket. I walked the land with him. He showed me everything. I mean, literally, his backyard is here, and the venues are right next to his house. How the hell could he ever sell his house? I mean, it's ridiculous, and I think you need to take it seriously. I understand somebody who's like on 9G having an event venue. It's a collector county road. But this is Schultz Hill, and we don't need this in this town, period. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? We'll wait a little bit just in case somebody has an afterthought. Okay, someone in the back.
Carmine DiBernardo, Deer Ridge Drive. I really think that we should just do what the people need to do. We live here, and the county shouldn't have certain oversight in our town laws, and our town laws sometime go by the state regulations, some by town regulations. I don't know, I think you should put, like, in writing whether these are mandatory town. The definition of a farm is different for the county and the state versus the town of Clinton. So, you know, certain codes and things that you want to do as a farm are okay for the town, but they're not okay for the state, or vice versa. So I think we got to get together and have one, and again, abide by what the people want. We live here, the county doesn't, the state doesn't, and we need to do what's good for us, you know? So, thank you.
Anyone else? How are we doing on time?
Yeah, 6:30,
6:30?
6:34.
Okay, hearing none, I will close the public hearing and make a motion to adjourn the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. So now we're going to go into the regular town board meeting. This is mine. Oh, yeah, here it is.
Want me to get it for you?
Yeah, I just
Okay.
got too much stuff here.
Right, I hear you.
Oh, that's done. Okay, good. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to call the regular town board meeting on November 12th, 2019 to order. Please rise and we'll pledge to the flag again. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, please be seated.
Rick's in your pocketbook.
It's on my money.
Okay, now we got a whole lot of minutes here to be approved. Unfortunately, that's how we go through it. I make a motion to approve the minutes of the October 3rd, 2019 Highway Workshop meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. I make a motion to approve the minutes of the October 8th, 2019 Public Hearing Events Law meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. I make a motion to approve the minutes of the October 8th, 2019 public hearing on the tax cap override meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. I make a motion to approve the minutes of the October 8th, 2019 regular town board meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. I make a motion to approve the minutes of the October 10th, 2019 General Fund Workshop meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. I make a motion to approve the minutes of the October 17th, 2019 Special Town Board meeting to adopt the preliminary budget. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. I make a motion to approve the minutes of the November 7th, 2019 public hearing on the 2020 budget. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Okay, done with that section. Now, we have the public's discussion section. The public section here, you can talk on any subject, typically 3 minutes or so. We're not giving you long dissertation time. On anything that's on the agenda to be acted on tonight, okay? At the end of the meeting, we will have another public discussion thing, which is not limited to the items on the agenda. So if, for example, on the agenda, it was homeless, you couldn't do it in the first section, but you can do it in the second section, related to the town of Clinton, of course. Same rules, Talk to the microphone, talk to the board, name, street where you're from or who you represent or whatever. So, at this time, I open the meeting to public discussion. Is there, make a motion to open the meeting to public discussion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Okay, raise your hand and away we go. Nobody?
Jeff?
Jeff Newman.
Okay.
Jeff Newman, Route 9G. Just in the interest, I think, of potentially clearing up something that keeps coming up in terms of the agricultural event venue. The way that I read this and the way that I see it is worded is not something that overly restricts a farm operation, but that uses what is spelled out in 305A that already protects a farm operation. In order for a farm to be able to do those events, it's spelled out in 305A that it has to be, they don't use the word supplementary, I forget the exact word that they use, but incidental is the word they use, incidental to the farm operation. It is not the farm operation. The way this is worded, what this allows is for somebody who does have an agricultural operation that wants to actually do those events beyond what would be protected under 305A. 305A is fairly restrictive in that regard. If it has to be incidental, it means that that less than half of your income has to come from events, as opposed to what's spelled out here is as an agricultural event venue, you could do up to this maximum number of events to this many people, and it doesn't have to relate to the protections that are offered under 305A. And I think that's just a misunderstanding that occasionally comes up. So I wanted to offer that, and that was it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Yes? We missed you, Russ.
Yeah, I didn't die, though. Russ Tompkins, Schultzville. I wasn't going to comment on this, but on the agricultural event, I can sympathize with Mrs. Hughes and the two people that live over there next to that one, but this law, if passed, will take care of that problem because it probably won't be allowed. And you have so many regulations in it that distances and stuff. I think the two main ones that it would allow would be the Naylor Farm and the old Adrian's Farm. And I don't think there's been too much complaints about those venues. So I think that your event law basically is pretty well written. And as I said, as the previous man mentioned, 305 gives the agricultural a lot of protection. So I do think that it's something that maybe we ought to move along with, because you can just keep beating a dead horse so long, and you're only going to have a pile of bloody meat there, It's been going on, been going on, been going on. So I basically think that you got a pretty good document here, and I don't think it's going to infringe upon people's rights, and I think it will prevent the sort of thing that's been taking place apparently over on Schultz Hill Road. So unless I read it wrong, I think that would be a solution for some people's aggravation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Russ? Anyone else? Sure. Oh, wow.
I also will give you a call tomorrow, Carol, about the comments from the county planning, because I'm curious about
Would you like
what
that
they
as
were.
well?
Yeah, I'll give you a call.
Email me,
Yeah.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Okay.
And Dina, I sort of sent this response to you earlier today, but in terms of this law being seen as overly restrictive, I think that this represents like Russ was saying, a way to help some of these issues. The whole goal here is to try to protect the community and the neighbors from things that are outside of the noise ordinance and traffic and things like that. And I think that despite the county's input, and this is without seeing all of it, but I'm curious about one of the things that they did send was the Smithtown and
Yes,
Southold,
Southold.
Southold, yeah, thank you.
Yes.
And those were specifically for individual events and require an application for each event that's made. This is looking at how do we allow for a business operation within the town that also respects what's happening with the neighbors and so that things are set up in the right way, in the right place. And so the view of it being potentially over-restrictive, I think is something that I would like to see the board look beyond and make their own decisions based on what the people in the town are saying.
Yeah, that Southold law, because it was a per-event thing, would actually
Right.
be more restrictive for
Exactly.
operations that are trying to do it on a more regular basis.
Right, and a lot more work for the town to have to review every single one. And it doesn't speak at all to the infrastructure that this requires that a property have in terms of roads and parking and things
Well,
like
it
that.
did mention something about that the town could, at a later point, regulate whatever infrastructure
True.
each individual event would require.
Right, yeah, after the fact, yeah. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
Samantha Kuhn, Clinton Corners Road. I just actually have a question. So for someplace like the place on Schultz Hill Road, if these laws did not pass, or they passed, couldn't they apply for a variance on things like the footage off and the road entryway and things such as that? So wouldn't that not solve the problem if they did get that variance? Isn't there a way to work with their neighbors, to tell them what's going on, to explain to them that they will follow, the rules and regulations that the town does set forth for them?
A variance for which part? I mean, setbacks of the building, setbacks for the driveway?
Yeah, I guess a little bit of everything that they would be lacking on right now. Just a way to work with your neighbors instead of fight against them, which seems like everyone in here is trying to do right now. Just trying to work together to come to a peaceful solution with your neighbors, I know that maybe neighbors aren't, as receptive to it, and maybe come to some retaliation in that way, but maybe they can find a way to work together so the neighbors are okay with what's going on, following the rules and the regulations that the town comes up with. But I do appreciate everything that the town has done so far to come to how far we've come.
Okay.
So,
Good evening, Chris Giuliano, Center Road. So I've had the privilege, as everyone knows, being able to work on this law with several people, a few of the farms up here. I just wanted to address a few things that were said earlier on regarding this. The purpose of a review, a yearly review, is to try to protect the neighbors that are adjoining properties and making sure that they're not being affected adversely with that. So that's the whole purpose of trying to do a yearly review. When we sat down, we were trying to find a solution with that. So to answer some questions that went into a previous meeting, I just wanted to address that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I guess,
We knew it. We knew she couldn't.
I know, I said I'm not going to talk. I have a question. I said I'm not going to talk, but I just have a question. With the county,
Who are you and where do you
Arlene
live?
Campbell. With the county opposing to our document, does it mean they're allowing the surrounding towns with the events? Because it's not just us, it's going everywhere. I'm just
So other towns like Hyde Park have passed their own events law, and I believe Rhinebeck has as well. So if nobody's arguing about it, then I guess they're doing it without any complaints. Other towns have passed events laws, and so that's what we're trying to do to address some of the concerns of the residents as to the noise and traffic and such. But the county only gets involved is if we're proposing something.
I just can't imagine surrounding towns and everybody will gonna have like it echoes, all those noises and drunk traffic concerns. It's just unlikely. Just, that's it.
Anyone else?
It could be any other topic other than events.
Yeah.
Zach Snow, Slate Quarry Road. I'm a trustee of the library. I'm going to get up later and talk about what's going on at the library, but while we're limited to what's on the agenda, I just wanted to say on the budget that the library is listed as a special district. We are not a special district. We have no separate taxing power. We don't set our tax rate. So it's set by the community through the 414 vote, and you collect it for us.
Yep.
Just a point of clarification.
That's what we do. Okay, looks like nobody else. I make a motion to return to regular order of business. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Okay, now I gotta find my thing here. Where did I leave it? Yeah. Oh, I left them in my bag. That's where they are. Okay, these are supervisors' comments for this meeting. The Clinton Thanksgiving holiday schedule follows. The town offices, Highway Department, Justice Court Office, and court will be closed for the Thanksgiving holiday on Thursday and Friday, November 28 and 29. On Saturday, November 30th, the town offices will also be closed, but the town recycling center will be open as usual from 7:30 a.m. to noon. The Clinton Library will be closed on Thursday and Friday, November 28 and 29, but will be open regular hours on Saturday, November 30th. The town of Clinton is accepting letters of interest for town-wide boards and committees for appointment in 2020. Positions include membership on the Planning Board, ZBA, that's Zoning Board of Appeals, BAR, Board of Assessment Review, CAC, Conservation Advisory Committee, Recreation Committee, Scenic and Historic Roads Committee, and Cemetery Committee to oversee the operations of the town's newly acquired 3 cemeteries. Letters of interest with contact telephone numbers and related experience should be sent to Town Supervisor Ray Oberly by email to townsupervisor@townofclinton.com or by mail to the Town Supervisor, Town of Clinton, 1215 Center Road, Rhinebeck, New York, 12572 by December 2nd. Interviews will be held in early December at the Town Hall. For any questions, call the Town Supervisor at 845-266-1251, extension 105 in the mornings, Monday through Thursday, or his secretary Samantha at 845-266-5721, extension 130. The town has a local law requiring no parking on public roads from November 15th to April 15th to allow the highway crew to safely snowplow and do ice control. You may be fined or have your vehicle towed, so comply, save some money. That's all I have. Now we'll go into the regular reports. Planning Board.
Planning Board met, excuse me, on October 15th. There were 2 items on the agenda. An application on Schoolhouse Road, requesting a series of variances for the construction of a storage shed. 4 variances were granted by the Planning Board and received a positive recommendation to the Zoning Board of Appeals. The same gentleman requested or applied for a permit for a water law permit, since the shed would be within 100 feet of the Little Wappingers Creek. Board discussed the application, declared lead agency, circulated to interested parties for review, but no further action was taken at that meeting. The second application, or the third application, from an applicant on Hollow Road. This was a continuing application for a B&B, an old house that's been being renovated at the corner of Hollow and South Creek Road. Public hearing had been held in August, was kept open because of neighborhood concerns having to do with traffic and parking and general impact on the hamlet. Board, at that time, the board advised the applicant to discuss the proposed parking layout with the DPW and also with the town highway superintendent to ensure public safety and to address traffic concerns. So the public hearing was kept open. November 5th was the second scheduled meeting of the month, but was canceled due to the general election. End of report.
Thank you. Zoning Board of Appeals.
Zoning Board met on October 24th. The applicant from Schoolhouse Road, who had received a positive recommendation on the variances for his storage shed, came into the ZBA, presented his application, and the variances were granted. So the applicant will now return to the Planning Board to continue his application for the water law permit. End of report.
Thank you. Conservation Advisory Committee.
CAC met on October 9th. The meeting revolved around community choice aggregation efforts being undertaken by the town. The CAC has coordinated with Hudson Valley Energy to schedule 2 public informational workshops about the upcoming community choice aggregation program. I misspoke. Those 2 workshops have already taken place. There are 2 more workshops that will be scheduled soon. I want to thank the Clinton Community Library and West Clinton Fire Department for helping to facilitate these presentations, and Maya Goer Palenzuela for designing the flyers for the workshop. The CAC is also working on more educational programs for the community for the next year. Their programs with the library and at the summer camp went well this year, and they would like to continue that in 2020. End of report.
Thank you. Recreation Committee.
The Recreation Committee met. I had intended to give a, excuse me, give a year-end report, which I will do next month. But we started looking at all of the either wish lists or necessary things we need to do to address the issues in both of the parks, both Franmark and Friends Park. And one of the things we were able to do just recently was put a new roof on the dugout at Franmark Park, and that's been an issue for at least 2 years, so that was a good thing. We've started recruiting and looking for individuals, the aquatics director as well as lifeguards, for the camp next year. It's a very competitive recruitment, and this year we really we came right down to the wire whether or not we were going to be able to accommodate the camp with swimming. So we're doing that already. Dan Harkenrider calls this a wish list, but really it's a big list. It's very daunting, and we're talking about upgrading, especially Franmark Park this year. It has to be, or excuse me, Friends Park. It has to be worked on this year, and we're talking, the playground needs to be redone. The back part of the playground is all underwater most of the time and not really that usable. Fencing is a problem. We have a skating rink that used to be there that is in poor repair. We need to make a decision on that, whether we're going to keep it, and if so, how are we going to keep it more usable. Tennis court, the same situation. We have purchased some picnic tables and grills, which we hope to also put in the park. We'd also like to do some kind of a kiosk sign outside the park, which kind of helps to promote some of the things that the park might offer. In Franmark Park, the same thing. The playground is going to be redone. A lot of the equipment is old and needs to be taken out and scrapped. We're looking at trying to make a walking path around the pond there, which would really be a good thing for exercise, et cetera. We're looking at introducing some new activities. We want to try to get security cameras in both parks. In the past, this year, we had some major security issues at Friends Park, where someone was actually attacked. And so security cameras are going to be a priority. We'd like to have some other things done, which I just won't go into right now, but there is an extensive list. We've already established the dates for the camp for 2020, which will be on the website for July and August, and also the fees. End of report.
Okay, thank you. Building inspector?
Hold it, I'll get to it. Building inspector. Sorry. Sorry about that. That sequence for me. I apologize for this. Okay. Building inspector issued 11 permits during this period. 24 COs and CCs were issued. The number of title searches were 11. The number of mileage that he logged this period was 260 miles. And the cost of construction for this period was $920,280.35. And the few big-ticket items were an in-ground pool on 1439 Hollow Road for $117,732. A new residence on 1485 Center Road for $577,000. And a roof-mounted solar at 55 Mountain View Road for $69,817.35. End of report.
Thank you. Zoning administrator?
Okay, zoning administrator, busy month again, the month of October. He closed 8 complaints, several of which were for noise nuisance, several of which were for trash stored in front yards, one for screening, required screening, driveway, subdivision driveway condition, and a short-term rental operation. There are also 6 complaints that are continuing on Deer Ridge Drive, open construction permit, extra sheds, and so on. Several on Hollow Road dealing with unregistered vehicles, Mountain View Road, a kennel, and accessory structures without proper setback. And on Center Road, yard maintenance with a vehicle open to the weather. There are also, during the month of October, 3 new complaints that came in. Multiple unregistered vehicles on Allen Road, yard dumping on Hollow, building maintenance on Cedar Lane. And then there was one application that was referred to the zoning board on Center Road for an accessory structure that would be located within a front yard. And that's the report for the zoning administrator for the month of October.
Thank you. Highway?
Oddly enough, the first bullet is that they were preparing the trucks for winter, and actually they got to use them today. Certainly not a lot of plowing, but a lot of sanding, et cetera. They removed a lot of debris and leaves from the ditches and culverts, which, of course, after the fall is imperative to keep those open. They cleared dead trees on several roads like Schultz Road, Schoolhouse, Reiners Road, and Schultz Hill Road. They cleaned up from the rainstorm from October 17th and a November 5th. Both wind and rain did a lot of damage in the town, and they finally got all that cleaned up, as well as they continue to patch all the dirt roads as well. End of report.
Thank you. Scenic and historic roads,
No activity this month.
library report.
The library trustees postponed this month's meeting for 1 week because of the Veterans Day holiday, so the next meeting is on November 18th at 6:30.
Altice or Cablevision.
Effective November 13th, 2019, this TV will be replacing Court TV on Channel 111. There's no effect on rates. End of report.
Zoning revision.
I'll leave the event law to the event law, but the only other thing I'll say as far as the zoning revision will be starting up again on November 21st. That's 2 Thursdays from now, 3 Thursdays from now, whatever. So the agenda will be posted, I think, already on the website, so you'll see what items, other than the fact that if we extend the event law, maybe we'll be talking about that as well in the report.
Okay, thank you. The next one is transmission lines, which is starting to get more active now. Transco submitted their plans on October 18th, 2019, and filed their Article 7 application with the New York State PSC, Public Service Commission. Copies of the application are available in the town clerk's office and in the community library. The application contains lots of technical information about monopoles, environment, etc. More details than most people care to know. The application is contained in about a 2-foot-high stack of notebooks. So this is not one little summary thing that, looks like this. It is a lot of work if you want to plow through it all. The upgrade of the transmission line is expected to be completed by the end of 2023. The town, in cooperation with the Hudson Valley Smart Energy Coalition, will work to ensure the transmission upgrade does not seriously impact our town. There will be no power line workshop directly following this town board meeting tonight. Next one is, you have anything on cemeteries?
Fortunately, no.
No. Okay. Anybody have any other reports? WIC?
The WIC quarterly meeting was postponed in October, and it's happening this Friday. I saw you sent out an email to everybody. I mean, I usually go alone. I'm happy to have company if you guys want to show up Friday morning.
Chris is going to go with you.
Yeah, great. So that's it.
Okay, then we'll go into the next item, whatever it is, I lost track. Okay, now we're going into the events law. Discussion on events law. Dean?
Well, I sent out everybody, which you should have received earlier on anyway, from Shane, with the comments from the county and the latest email with some suggested language. I quickly took a look at some of the language, and it really doesn't apply to what we're doing as for the fact that it's the ones that Jeff Newman were talking about earlier, was really applying to something that would be, every so often, so you would just get a temporary type of a pass to type of, have these events, where we're doing it more on a regular basis. So this law that they're proposing didn't really apply to what we were doing, even though apparently that particular law was worked on with the department. And when they say department, I'm assuming it was Ag Markets, to develop that particular document. So the other thing that I'll mention, I'll just, other than reading this full 3 pages here, one of the things that the County Department of Planning and Development made a comment was that we should be separating the conference law from the ag tourism type laws, as they don't necessarily accomplish the same thing and also aren't compatible in certain aspects. And the other aspect that they really cited as to the law is that there was a lot of duplication, and I think some of the duplication came from the fact that we just tried to overly explain what our intent was, and so some things were constantly driven home as to the information. So the county says because of their rejection, it would take 4 of the 5 of us to say yes if we wanted to pass this law. I've been having Shane work on, which he just got these last comments today from county planning. I've been having Shane try to deal with the county to kind of develop something that would satisfy both the county planning, ag markets, town residents, and so on. I don't think we'll ever come up with a document that'll satisfy everybody, but that being said, I'm open to listen to what the rest of the board wants to do.
Well, I just had one general comment on that law, that we take away the distance being measured from houses and just make it from property lines. And the basis for that is, if the inspector, whoever it may be, is trying to go and do that measurement from a house, he'll have to get permission from that homeowner to get onto his property, their property, while going to a boundary line. He's on that property line, on that property. So that'll eliminate having to get a court-ordered ability to go onto the property line of the other property. So, I mean, that's a simple thing, but it's, I think, important from an operation standpoint.
Well, I mean, you can use the mapping system on the parcel access to kind of get a rough idea what the distance is from house to property. Also, not having, maybe a surveyor's background to know exactly where the property line is may be a little more difficult too, because of the curvature of the earth. When you look at parcel access, you really can't tell exactly where the property line is from parcel access. It's giving you a flat 2-dimensional view, not a 3-dimensional. So to use a straight line on parcel access from building to building, you can easily take a distance. And I think if your neighboring property had a complaint as to the distance from the house, they'd probably let you go on their property. So I wouldn't necessarily change it to the property line, only for the reason that it would probably be more difficult. The second is, the reason that we went to building versus property line was the fact that if there was a large farm next to another large farm, and maybe buildings are on opposite ends of the property line, there is that buffering of all the issues that we're talking about here. And so one of the concerns that we always looked at was where's the driveway, where's the noise coming from, how far is it away from the neighbor? And even though sound echoes and everything else, at least there was a way of kind of controlling some of those disturbances.
I think there's also a philosophical issue involved in terms of how restrictive we want the law to be. Any accommodation that's reached with county planning or ag and markets is going to result in something that's less restrictive than what we have now, right? And what we have now is less restrictive than where we started 6 or 8 months ago. So that seems to be the direction we're moving in. And I think it's important for the board to determine how far we want to go with it in terms of making it less restrictive, because that's inevitable, that it will be less restrictive if we don't pass the version we have in front of us tonight.
First question I have is, earlier you mentioned that Hyde Park and Rhinebeck have event laws that are on the books now. Did you look at theirs at all to see how they may have gotten around this, or did they not?
Hyde Park and Rhinebeck are for the most part, very
Yes.
pro-event law.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
but
look-
did they, what I'm saying is did they have to do it with 4 votes? Did they have to override objections from county planning?
I don't even know if they got county planning approval. It's not posted anywhere to say whether they did or not.
When we
Because
first,
when we talked to our county planning, they told us that some towns have passed laws that without their approval. So until someone complains about it, it wouldn't become up as an issue.
just to turn the clock back, I don't know how long it's been since we started talking about this. One of the first things I did when we put this together was to go to the neighboring towns, which included Hyde Park and Rhinebeck. And Hyde Park was very non-restrictive compared to what I thought we wanted here. And Rhinebeck, less so, but still more so than what we wanted here. I also went to Hyde Park because our town engineer had been instrumental in helping them write the law. So that seemed like a good place to start. But to answer your question, I don't know. I don't know if what hoops they jumped through. But I did know that the laws they ended up with, what I felt, at least at the time, were not what we wanted to do.
Well, certainly less restrictive is going to be more palatable to the county
Well,
planning.
yeah, for sure.
And less palatable to,
And less than palatable to the residents that are
Well,
concerned.
perhaps, yeah.
I mean, obviously, my biggest concern is, we want to take care of the residents of our town, and so passing this law would get us closest to that. On top of that,
You know,
if
the-
one person running an event venue decides to take us to court because we passed this law over the objections of 3 pages of notes from county planning saying that we shouldn't pass it, then I don't see how we're going to win that.
Yeah, and I think from the comments are, the people that don't want the events want us to pass a law, and the people that want the events want us to pass a law. And so they both have consensus that we should probably pass a law. I mean, and the fact that we've had a group of 6 people, 7 people, 9, whatever the number was, work together to kind of craft this to begin with, both farmers and, lay people. I mean, seems like, again, they're not going to make everybody happy, but it seems like it's closest to what fits our need. Now, the problem is that if a farm wants to object to it, most likely they would have a lot of this thrown out. So do we also want to get ourselves into the legal aspect of having lawsuits to have to defend and have to deal with this?
Well, but at some level, you need to, you make your claim and you stake it. I mean, you don't make a decision to do something or not to do something just because it's possible that somebody may challenge it in court. You do what you think is best and what you think is right for the town, and if somebody challenges it, you deal with it when it comes down the pike. But to anticipate a challenge before you've even done something, I think it's putting the cart before the horse.
Well, I think the red flags are there.
No question. No
And
question.
so I think it's good for the town to
question.
actually have a law like this on the books, but I also think it's good for the town to not put ourselves in a position to spend thousands on an attorney defending it. So,
The other question I have, assuming you're interested in passing it, what would be your basis of why you're doing the override of the county?
Is that the majority of the people wanted us to.
So you're using the people as your technical basis?
Well, the technical basis that we formed a committee. The committee was comprised of both stakeholders, all stakeholders. The consensus was that this document met most of their needs and that they wanted us to pass it. That is our reason if we're going to pass it.
we already have Shane working on it though, right?
Shane's been working back and forth, but he only just got these comments today, so.
Well, we got to do something.
Yeah.
Because everything is out of compliance and against all of our zoning laws at this
Well,
point.
again, many of the complaints are really handled by other sections of the law as it is already. So noise is already handled in the law. Lights and all these other complaints that we're having could be handled without this law. So one way or the other, some of these things are not going to be solved by just having this law.
That's right.
So if we say, put some teeth into our fee schedule for violations, maybe those noise complaints would be lessened.
This is the standard zoning fee schedule. It's no different than if you have junk cars or if you have too close to a property line, you put a shed up or whatever. We don't have a separate set of fines and stuff because we are restricted by, I assume, judicial code saying, or legislation saying, certain things are in this price range. In other words, say it's a violation and the price range is $100 to $500, we can't have a violation for $2,000 as a penalty. There's some boundaries. I don't know these exact numbers, and I make no claim to, but I know there is gradation, and we've never dealt with that piece.
You know, there's really two issues here. The issue of whether we have event centers or not. But the bigger issue is enforcement of the codes we have, okay? And most of the people that are talking about enforcement, the noise enforcement, after hours, the lighting, the traffic. All of that goes back to the zoning and the problems we've had with not keeping that, being able to keep that staff and being able to enforce it. So we're really looking at two different things.
Well, you're touching on one aspect,
Yeah.
because you're talking about the complaints for the people who don't want it. There's also the aspect of the people who do have the events and do want it. They also want a law, because
Right.
it's uncertain for them, if they're planning, let's say for a wedding, a year in advance, to not know whether we're going to shut them down is also problematic. So by having a law that they know where to play and how to, jump through hoops, at least they have something to work with. So they're also looking for us to have guidance for them. The only thing that they asked was that on that renewal process, that it be more of a streamlined renewal, which we did talk about. As long as there was no complaints, there should not really be that much restriction on renewing it year to year. The only reason for the renewal was so that if there were complaints, that neighbors would have an opportunity to basically voice what those complaints are. That was the only reason for the annual renewal, which I know is one concern.
And Nancy, some of the issues that we're talking about are not covered by the current law. Traffic, for example.
Right,
Noise is, lighting is.
Right.
Traffic is not.
right.
But traffic, as far as
Proximity to neighboring properties is not. I mean, those are important issues that are not don't fall under the category of enforcement.
And as far as traffic goes, I mean, we talked about the connectors, in major roads, which would, again, ag markets would probably throw out that
Well, they
for
might.
a farm that's not on
But
one of those roads.
There's going to be increased traffic no matter what you do.
Sure.
It's inevitable.
Yeah.
There's going to be increased traffic no matter what you do. And you can't control how people are going to get from point A to point B. I mean, so even if you access off a connector road or a state highway or what have you, doesn't mean that everybody's going to get there via
No.
the state highway.
Well, it's
You
the
can't
same thing
control
with
that.
like Omega. I mean, even though we
Exactly.
direct them all around the
They go-
big loop, they
Right.
take the navigation, come down Kansas
Well,
Road.
exactly.
Because it's the
Or
shortest route.
Schoolhouse
That's
Road or.
GPS. It's
or what
GPS.
Exactly. So that's going to happen no matter what. But you need, at least we can control the access at some level,
I'm not against
so.
the event thing. I'm just
No, no,
saying,
I
a lot of the
understand.
emotion is going back to the zoning.
Well, yeah, that's a big part of it,
Okay.
of course.
There's really, it's
Right.
like the horse before the cart. All of that stuff has taken place, therefore this becomes a larger issue than whether or not we have events. So,
Yeah.
I don't,
And we don't, I still didn't see a checklist that the person has to fill out to get the permits or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I know that Lou is working on kind of a similar
Yeah.
short-term rental
Right.
event law
No.
checklist.
Well, this is not
I know,
short-term.
he's
This-
doing it for me, he's doing it for
Yeah, this is a separate one. This is,
Yeah, but that doesn't have to,
Event.
that doesn't have to.
He's
be
going to
part-
copy a lot of the same
That's not
Yeah,
part
I
of,
know.
items.
part of the law, that's just a separate,
Yeah.
I mean, that's for their. for
That's
their
part of
benefit.
the application process.
Exactly, yeah, so that doesn't have to be part of the law that we, whatever we come up with.
we generally approved the document. In the past, we have.
The planning board has been using forms for years. I don't
I
think
know.
They were never approved by the town board.
All forms have to be approved by
Yeah.
the town board for use.
The checklist that the planning board's been
Yeah,
using
years
for
ago,
15 years?
Did those,
Yep.
Okay, well then, they'll have to do that.
because I've been asking for them.
I think so we have to, if we voted to override this, we'd need to submit it with a document stating why we voted that way.
Right.
And I think I'd like to see that document before I could vote to override it.
It's-
I want to see the reasoning written out. I need to see that.
Yeah.
Because we're just inviting trouble.
No, they're not saying submit a document. They're saying that we have to give them an answer within 30 days of what our decision has been.
No, it said.
You are obligated to report what action the town board decides to take, and doesn't say why?
Doesn't say
And
per se why.
I read someplace where it said you got to give a basis if you're going to override
I
it.
think I wrote it that way in my email, but it doesn't necessarily say it that way. It just says we had to give them the decision of why,
Here's
of what our decision is.
The law
Here's a-
requires that it
if the-
do so by a majority plus one of the full membership of the board, and that it notify us of the reasons for its decision. That's from Dutchess County Planning.
Yeah, that's
Just our reasons for the decision.
Yeah. I think four of us would have to be in agreement on what those reasons are.
I think it's too loose as what was just worded.
The reason?
Yeah, reason, yeah.
I don't see why they can't be handled as separate steps. I mean, if the consensus of the board, if 4 people on the board think that the law that we came up with is appropriate, we can pass it and write up a document later
But
to
would-
support that.
But wouldn't you want to know that those 4 people were in agreement on why they were overriding it?
Yeah.
Well, the one and only real reason is the town wanted it.
That's it.
Basically. That's the primary reason, is that it seems to be
And
favored
isn't
by
that
the
why
most
we're here?
people. And most people seem to, at least the people who have spoken up, obviously can't speak for the people who haven't spoken up, but the people who have come to the meetings and made their feelings known, they seem to be pretty,
Yeah.
well, anyway.
Yeah, it's not trivial. I don't know if the law could be overturned because the basis of our decision was inadequate. I'm just guessing. I have no idea.
Doesn't say it that way.
Who knows? I mean, that, when it comes to court, it comes to court, and it could-
Town rule basically gives us the right to do.
things can be overturned for any any reason. You can't necessarily predict the outcome once it goes to court, what's gonna. It could
There's definitely aspects of the law that will be
be
overturned
they'll certainly be
as being
challenged, yes,
over-restrictive.
no question about it.
So isn't it worth then at least giving Shane the opportunity to try and make this a little bit?
I'm fine with that,
Yeah.
if that's what the consensus is. It's just
I
going to
think-
be a different document.
Well, it'll be 2 documents,
You know, it'll be 2 documents.
which is okay. That's not a problem.
I feel like a
I
vote
think
tonight
that's a
just
way.
short circuits it, and we're not there yet, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I wish we were.
So then, we'll just hold it over till next month, see what we come up with. And then we'd have to go again through the reporting process, so it'd take another 30 days,
You'd have to do another public hearing and so on.
public hearing.
Well, you know, you
We
could,
can hold this public hearing open, right? We didn't close it out, did we?
Except
No.
if it's a different law, then,
yeah, we closed
We
it,
do.
then you might as well
We
close
did
it and
close it.
reopen it.
So then we'd have
but
to
it's
have
a
another.
different document.
Exactly.
I mean, you still have the opportunity on the 21st, when you do the zoning revision stuff, of seeing what comes out and clean it up
Well,
at that time.
Except if we're waiting on Shane, then it's basically up to him at this point to give us something to work with,
I
right?
know, but it should be fairly.
Again, he just got this latest
can't
email from them
imagine.
today, so.
Okay.
That's only a week from now. Who knows? If he has something, we could look at it on the 21st, but if not, it's going to fall into December.
Well,
See, but that's
Or
exactly what
whatever.
my issue is. Like, if Shane just got the email today, and then we decide we're gonna vote to override something that Shane hasn't even had the opportunity to look at.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I can't do that.
Well, I think he would prefer to try to work out some sort of an accommodation, but ultimately, it's not his decision, it's our decision as to what we want to do. He may not agree with it, but, I mean, if it came to that, he would represent us. If it came to
Oh, yeah.
a legal situation, obviously, he would represent us.
But I think not supporting his continued effort here would be the better way to go, just like
All right.
Michael said here.
Well, it's almost when in doubt, don't, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
there's enough issues raised, and I hate to say to people, we're gonna take longer, but that's why we're here, to make sure that we dot the i's
Well, if
and
it's done
cross
right,
the
it'll be
t's.
in place for a long time.
Well,
So
yeah.
if it takes us a few extra months to get it right.
Meanwhile, we're doing the best we can to try to get the enforcement piece in place so that we can at least address that.
Yeah, so, I mean, if anybody wasn't listening in our budget meetings from 2 weeks ago, we discussed the additional
Zoning guy.
part-time zoning assistant.
Yeah.
So,
We have the county involved in helping us recruit, and we're gonna do a lot of advertising and look at things like civil service lists for that kind of test. However, they're quite old, but there may be somebody there. We're exploring every avenue we can to fulfill that position and the new position that we voted for in 2020. And we're doing the best we can.
so it sounds like the consensus is to wait
Delay.
for Shane.
Yep, I think so.
Me too.
Okay. The next one is short-term rentals, typically called Airbnb.
An easier topic.
You say easy.
Sure.
So, the original text of that was a two-tiered system based on the number of nights rented, and that was causing confusion and problems, differentiating it from regular bed and breakfast establishments and Airbnbs. So we reworked the whole thing, and now there's a two-tiered system based on hosted or non-hosted, owner-occupied, non-owner occupied. And I had sent it to Shane. We got it back about 5-6 days ago. I sent it to the rest of the board. If you have any comments on it, that'd be great, but I assume at this point I have to take into account whatever Shane has put in there, make some changes, and hopefully next month we can introduce it and set a public hearing for it.
Or do you want to also, if there's time permitting, do it at the zoning revision, just to get a first pass of anything?
Oh, sure.
Rather than waiting.
You mean a first pass of comments from the board?
Yeah.
Yeah,
or
that's fine.
Board or the public, either.
Yeah, that's
Either
fine with
one.
me, too.
I mean,
I'll do that as a zoning revision.
Are you gonna
Workshops
be,
make
are you
it
gonna
easier.
introduce it to be able to separate, whether it's, owner occupied versus
So,
not?
I gave it to you. So the first, so basically there's two kinds of short-term rentals. We're calling it a type 1 short-term rental that is occupied by the owner during the period in which it's rented with no more than one bedroom available for lodger's use. And then type 2 is a short-term rental exclusively occupied by lodgers with all or part of the dwelling or accessory dwelling unit available to lodgers. And so the type 1, which is owner occupied, would require just a permitting process like we do with bed and breakfast establishments. And type 2 would require the special permit and a
Okay.
process through the planning board.
Carol, can we get this posted on the website if we're going to talk about it at the next zoning meeting?
That's up to Michael.
Yeah, I can, yeah, this one's good.
Okay, I have it.
Now that I haven't gotten massive comments on it.
So people can read it before the zoning meeting.
Yeah, that'd be
if they-
great.
Are you
if they
going to do
want
the
to.
red line version or the
Yeah, we may
black
as,
one?
well,
Yeah, which version do you want?
I'll send you the black version.
Right, send it to me.
Yeah, I'll send you a clean version.
Okay, without the red line.
Yeah.
Okay, and put a date on it so we know.
Yeah, this came from Shane,
I know, and it says.
and it is on the bottom,
I know it is on his, but it's not.
although I didn't get it then.
Neither did I. That's why I said.
Okay.
Okay, so that's a future discussion item. Next one is adopting the 2020 budget. The 2020 Clinton Town budget has a 1 cent increase in the tax rate to $2.18 due to the reduction in the taxable assessed value for the town. The town is still under the tax cap by $25,479. So you're always playing with a trade-off. You use up all the under tax cap, then your tax rate goes up, so.
So now, Ray, were those reductions based on the several contested values that we've been dealing with?
This is what's on the records right now, not what's in litigation.
No, I'm saying we proved several things in the beginning of the year.
Whatever
couple of the
was
properties.
all done.
I just wonder if there was something else that went on.
No, just what,
Okay.
because I just asked the assessor, give me a number as of this date, and that was about a week ago.
And by then, they've already
Whatever process through.
reversed some of them, yeah.
Yep, process through.
And agenda item number 4 isn't going to affect agenda item number 3, correct? 'Cause
No,
it's come
no,
from
it's
supplemental.
already in there.
Yeah.
It's already in
Just
there.
making sure.
Yeah. So I make a resolution to approve the following resolution, a motion rather, to approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that the town board approves resolution of 2019 titled, "A Resolution Adopting a Budget for the Fiscal Year Commencing January 1st, 2020 and ending December 31st, 2020, making appropriations for the conduct of the Town of Clinton government and establishing the rates of compensation for officers and employees for such period." Is there a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Whoops, wrong place. Okay, the next one is on the ramp and library facility things. During the DASNY, which is the organization up in Albany that gives us the grant money, review of the grant application, they requested that we do another cost estimate for the project since the original one was done in early 2018. The current new estimate came to be $6,000 higher than the earlier estimate. These $6,000 funds are contained in the 2020 adopted budget, but DASNY wanted a resolution to show that the funds are in the 2020 adopted budget because you can't see it the way the budget's put together. We just don't itemize this kind of detail. So that's what this is just about. Let's see, which one? Okay, we're down here. I make a motion to approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that the town board approves the resolution of 2019 titled Adding $6,000 Supplemental Funds in 2020 Budget for Library Ramp Grant. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, flail mower. The final IMA intermunicipal agreement between the towns of Clinton, Milan, Red Hook, and Rhinebeck has been agreed to, so Clinton needs to approve. The new IMA is very similar to the one done previously for the mini excavator, but the funding is not from a shared services grant. I make a motion to approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that the town board approves the resolution of 2019 and IMA authorizing the purchase of a flail mower. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, next one is bidding for highway materials.
Okay, we need to bid, go out for bids for all the materials the highway will need for the coming year. That's sand, that's salt, that's all of the materials. So we typically ask for it now, and then we'll review it quickly, and then be able to make the decisions before the new year. So I make a motion that the council approve the following. Be it resolved that the town board approve the following resolution. The town board authorizes the town clerk to advertise for sealed bids for highway materials. The sealed bids are due at 10:30 on Monday, December 2nd, open at 10:45 on that date, and awarded to at the regular town board meeting on Tuesday, December 10th, to the lowest responsible bidders.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. We do this yearly, so it's nothing special. Okay, the next one is Town Hall Kitchen Remodeling Project. The Warren Lodge Masons, with the help of the Friends of the Kitchen, are spearheading the remodeling of the Town Hall Kitchen that's in the basement of this building down here. To help fund this project, they are holding a fundraiser dinner on Saturday, November 16th, that's this coming Saturday, from 5 to 7 p.m., open servings, in the Clinton Alliance Church's Youth Center, that's the big building down here, on Saturday, November 16th, from 5 to 7 p.m. in the Clinton Alliance Church's Youth Center. CIA chef Walter Crote will be preparing the meal of applewood smoked brisket, and it is served buffet style. Call Art Pritchard for reservations at 845-702-1774. Come and help support this project to improve the town facilities. The cost estimate for the initial work is $2,600, with the masons already also paying for the 4-burner range. So we're removing sort of the household version to a little more commercial version. A design team is working on the details of the remodeling. It is hoped to be done by April 2020. Okay, so that's just giving you the status on that. The next one is approve the MVP contract. That's recently received the final rates for the MVP medical plan that is used for the highway department. The final rate increase is 6.8% increase. We've heard numbers all the way from 7 to 8%, or maybe even higher. So New York State finally, with the insurance commission up there, locked in the numbers. The new numbers have been put into the budget just in time. So they're there. So I make a motion to approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that the town board approves the new MVP EOP Gold 2 HDHP medical coverage contract for full-time employees in 2020. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Just to say, this is the same plan that we had before. Coverages changed a little bit, but the prices went up. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Okay. Now, the next thing is resignations and appointments. I have an appointment here that just came in today, and the appointment is, I'll just give you a little background, for a seasonal highway employee to run the snowplow truck with a CDL license, the big trucks, during the winter time. This is what we've done in the past. The person has changed jobs, so that person's not available to fill that position. So this is the person that's been found by the superintendent-elect of highways, Todd. So I just want to read and see if we can agree. He has all the credentials. I have all the paperwork. He has a CDL and everything else. I make a motion that the town board approves the following resolution. Be it resolved that the town board appoints Damian Potts as seasonal MEO at $21.69 per hour effective November 14th, 2019. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Okay, approval of warrants.
Make a motion, be it resolved, the town board approves the November 12th general fund warrant vouchers 451 through 506 totaling $159,043.48, and the November 12th highway fund warrant voucher number 234 through 268 totaling $153,893.46. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, the next one is to move funds. We do this every meeting, trying to, whenever budgets get overspent or so, we try to balance them out. I make a motion that the town board approves the following resolution. Be it resolved that the town board approves the resolution number of 2019, a motion to move funds at the November 12th, 2019 meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Supervisor's report. I make a motion that the town board approves the October 2019 supervisor's report. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Sorry,
Okay.
it's going around.
I know.
Yeah.
What's next? Just sorry. Okay. Is anyone going to want to talk in the public discussion period? We'll open it up, but I just wanted to ask, okay. I make a motion to open the meeting to public discussion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay. You know the rules by now. You seem to have done it before. Come on up.
Thank you. As I said before, I'm Zach Snow, Slate Quarry Road, and a trustee of the library. I just want to say a few words about what's going on. Our programs continue to be very well attended. Carol Bancroft, our new director, is off to a strong start. Has been recruiting some very enthusiastic staff members. We're still getting a lot of compliments on our new look with our fresh carpet and paint, and especially the rearrangement of the bookshelves, which I think has created a much more open feeling. We just concluded the Election Day raffle, which I think was the best ever. We got a big increase in enthusiasm for that. We're getting our annual appeal underway right now, which of course we count on for those extra goodies like the carpeting that I described. And we're thinking maybe a circulation desk if we can raise enough money in the annual appeal this time. And it's a little awkward, the current setup there. We are seeking to add one or two trustees. And one reason for that is that I am stepping down from the board after 4 years. It's been a privilege to serve. I look back over those 4 years, and it's just amazing how things have changed. I think 4 years ago, we were really struggling. We didn't have a secure, safe source of funding. We were running around trying to raise money. We were running a significant deficit. We now have a balanced budget, largely thanks to the voters of the town who dedicated or earmarked $115,000 a year for the library. Of course, that doesn't cover the whole budget, but we have some other sources of funding, but it gets us close enough that we don't have to stay up at night wondering whether we're going to keep the doors open. And I do want to mention two people who I think over those 4 years really, everybody helped, but I think there are two people who really should get most of the credit for the transformation of the library. One is Teresa McGuirk, who recently retired as our director and did a fabulous job and really figured out what the community wanted and provided it. And the other was the board president for most of that time, who really took it upon herself to make that position her occupation. I mean, she was working 20 to 30 hours a week, being the president of the library board. Of course, we're not going to expect that from any new trustees, but and that person was Barbara Burns. Just did a fabulous job. So it's been, again, it was a privilege to serve on the library board, but I think time to move on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, Carol.
Carol Hughes, Schultz Hill Road. Just a thought process with these party venues and the B&Bs. Wouldn't it, I don't know what the logistics would be, but wouldn't it behoove us to put it to a public vote of who wants it and who doesn't? And that wouldn't include people who want these party venues and those who are affected by it, would be the whole populace. I don't know.
You would have to wait for next November's election.
It's called a referendum.
What it is. We should have thought of this before, because,
You have to have it in like April.
And I don't think that kind of a topic is eligible for vote during a governmental election.
Well, every year's a governmental
No,
election.
no, no.
It's just that you
One
have to have it
form or another.
in, you know, like in the springtime, in order for it to be posted on that year's. So we wouldn't have had enough time from way back then to have it on November's ballot.
So then if you don't pay, if
So
you,
that means if you want it for next year, we'd have to have everything in order.
and how
the
does
way
that
you-
get on there, hon? How does that get on there?
Yeah, you create a referendum and then you have,
Who creates that, though?
well, anybody technically could create it.
Pardon?
Anybody, I guess, could technically create it.
I don't know, it just would
Town
seem like it
residents
would,
all got together and created a referendum.
it just seems like it would take the onus off of the party venue people and the ones who were affected by it. The whole populace would have a say about it. Just a thought process, which I know probably won't do nothing, go anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Sure.
Joanne Schmidt, Chadbelow Lane. I just want to thank the board for the hard work they've been doing. I'm especially interested in the short-term rentals because they affect me personally. And I won't be around because I'm one of those snowbirds that disappears. But I have full faith in this board and the fine work you're doing. And as far as the events are concerned, there's a lot of overlap in the sense of the neighbors and how they're affected, you know, and we want to do the right thing for everybody. So thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you, Joanne.
What's my name? Tricia Smith, Deer Ridge Drive. I wanted you to clarify something about you said about the Airbnbs. They're going to be allowed one-bedroom rental
So,
if they're owner occupied.
yes, because if they
What's the
had
point?
more than one, if they had more than one bedroom, then they would fall under the bed and breakfast establishment law. So they would then apply under that. It's not that it's not that somebody with more than one bedroom and it's owner occupied would be prohibited. It's just it would not fall under the Airbnb law, the short-term rental law. It would fall under our current bed and breakfast establishment, which is on the books already.
Oh, okay. Because I came in last time and I said I've been to many Airbnbs, and I've never been to one that only had one bedroom.
Yeah. There are actually some in town of some people that.
There might, if they have a small place.
Yeah, people that live near Omega help.
Oh, yeah, they
help
do, sure.
Pay their mortgage, you know.
Okay, so, okay.
So
Thank
this
you.
law would basically create 3 levels.
Yeah.
Of-
One of which is already established.
Oh, okay, okay. Thank you very much.
Anybody else? I make a motion to close the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further business before the board? I make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion. We're closed. See you on the 21st for zoning revision.